What's happening, YouTube? It's your homie S.Akuma coming back to you with another video. And today's video is all about one of the most anticipated decks to expect at GenCon this coming week/weekend. The Optimus, Lionizer, and RC deck, Saber Prime, I call it, whatever you want to call it. This deck is very powerful. Going into the tournament, I would definitely expect to see this. It has some very ridiculous plays and just kind of unfair plays, and it can really be very overwhelming. Now, this deck has been talked about well over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm just sharing with you my version of the deck, and talk about some things with the deck and some of its crazy power plays, and go from there. Now, of course, you have Optimus Prime, Battlefield Legend, best character in the game. Whenever he flips an action off of the attack flips, before your opponent flips their defense, he may activate an action off of those cards. And then, of course, his alt mode, whenever you flip to this mode, you may grab an action back from your scrap pile. Private Lionizer has Bowl 4, and when he turns into a Saber after he's KO'd, he automatically turns into a weapon. So if you have a weapon on one of your characters and you want to put it on that character, you must scrap that weapon, and it's mandatory to equip him. And he gives whoever he's equipped to Bowl 4 and Plan 1. And then, of course, we all know and love RC. In this mode, alt mode, when she flips to it, you may heal 1 off all your characters. And then in this mode, she has Pierce equal to her attack. So she has 20 attack. She also has 20 Pierce. So, I mean, 20 is probably going to KO character anyway, but you get the point. So with that, this deck, again, is just very powerful. Some of the things it can do. I'm excited to show you some of the battle cards and the way I'm playing the deck right now. This is also actually a very strong contender for me for one of the preliminaries. Now, this deck's strengths are against blue decks, actually this deck really handles 3-wide Optimus, the blue version, the normal, the one with Hot Rod / Aimless, and Flame War, and Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend. So if you hate that deck, if you dislike that deck, and you want to beat that deck, this deck actually has a very easy time. Well, okay, I don't want to say very easy, but this deck can handle that deck pretty well. And yeah. Now, other strengths, I think this deck can honestly beat any other orange deck as well. Cars might be an issue if they get their untap effects, I will say that. But any other normal orange deck, this deck can beat, except also for Bugs. Now, Bugs is their worst matchup. Bugs is any 3-wide decks, I keep saying it, any 3-wide orange deck's worst matchup, with the fact that they have 4 characters. They can start with Scrapnel. If they win the dice roll, they're already ahead, starting with Scrapnel and getting in on one of your characters, so on and so forth. So the side deck hopefully can help enough with that. Otherwise, I mean, you might just have to chalk that up to a loss. Just know that that's a tough matchup in general, speaking on Insecticons. But without further ado, I'm going to stop jibber-jabbering and get into the deck profile. And to start off, as usual, one of the best cards in the game, and for any orange deck that you're going to play, you'll usually be playing Peace Through Tyranny. Playing this card on Lionizer at the correct time is always great. One example that I always give is if your opponent went first and we both have 3 characters, for example, they're going to be tapped out before you. Optimus is your last attacker usually. You can Peace Through Tyranny your Lionizer, attack with Optimus, and then everybody has to stand because we're all tapped, and then you take your extra turn, and then Optimus gets to swing again. So you can very easily swing the tempo into your favor with this card. There are some other situations where you might Peace Through Tyranny your Lionizer to put on RC and actually even attack with her in alt mode, because let's say you might flip Optimus from bot mode to alt mode to grab Peace Through Tyranny, but you did it for the greater good because you put Peace Through Tyranny and you put the Lionizer on RC. RC attacks with Bowl 4, but there's a card that can move upgrade to another character. Pretty sure you know what it is at this point. If not, I'll talk about it when I get there. And then you can potentially flip Optimus on your next turn and get another attack. So again, there's some specific situations where you'll use this card in this deck, especially because Peace Through Tyranny's only target is Lionizer. Usually the only card you want to KO. You can KO Optimus, but you're probably almost never doing that. Anyway, we have 3 confidence. Not too much to say about this card. When you control all Autobots, or excuse me, when you started the game with all Autobots, you're able to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards from your hand, then play another action. So if your hand's kind of clogged, if your hand's clogged with all actions, you can play this confidently. See what I did there? Draw 2 cards and hopefully draw an upgrade to play an upgrade, for your action and upgrade throughout the turn, or just whatever you need to find in order to progress your turn. This card also helps you find, of course, Peace Through Tyranny, to play Peace Through Tyranny off of it and do your thing. Next up for our 3 ofs, one of the really good attack boosting cards in the game, Reckless Charge. Got to play it in any orange deck. This card's just ridiculous. Flipping it off Optimus effect, starting the game out with this on Lionizer. Lionizer has 4, Bowl 4, and then at the end of the turn he'll take 3 damage, making him easier to kill. So you can put it on the characters, which is what you want. And yeah, just in general, the card's very good. Or even put it, of course, on RC. RC will start out at 5. Hopefully, she'll hit about 7 with your 2 flips if you had, no action or upgrade. Very powerful card overall. Next up, for my 2 Us, we have 2 one-shot stand, one-shot fall. This card acts as a mini piece through Tyranny. It's great to use it on your Lionizer, especially if he has 3 or less health left. You can use this and then KO it, putting 3 damage effectively on your opponent, and then you lost the character, but that character, your Lionizer, turns into a weapon. So this card has gained a lot more value, especially in an aggressive deck like this. I'm only playing 2 for now, possibly will add a 3rd later. Great card. Next up for our 2 Us, press the advantage. If nothing else, if you can't find an attack boost card like your Reckless Charge or another card I'm going to show, you at least have this guaranteed because it's green. It's not really that good against other Autobot decks, but unless you definitely need an attack boost card, you can always get it. And of course, it's always good against Decepticon decks. They're on the rise. Bugs are always going to be there, of course. And we have Shockwave on the rise now, Major Shockwave, even Major Soundwave, is a possible contender, and other, General Megatron and Starscream even is a possible contender. So yeah, whole bunch of Decepticon decks to use this card on. Gives +2 attack to one of your Autobots and -2 defense to their Decepticon for the entire turn. Oops. My bad there. All right. Next up, we have 2 Hiding Spot. This card I like a lot because even in a I like it in blue and orange decks, but I like it a lot in here because you can potentially, when you send in your RC, you can set this card, play a grenade launcher in your RC, then set Hiding Spot. Your opponent's probably not going to attack your Lionizer rather when RC and Lionizer are tapped. And then you could potentially use Hiding Spot that turn when they try to get their character to, buffed up enough to where they can guarantee taking out RC. You foil their plans by flipping Hiding Spot, giving your RC stealth, and then they have to attack into Lionizer. And if they happen to kill Lionizer with a bit too much, what happens is the Lionizer now becomes the Saber. You put it on Optimus, and then Optimus gets to go to town next turn. And also, of course, the same matters with if all your characters are tapped, you can play Hiding Spot. You can set Hiding Spot, and when they're going to load up to try to go after Optimus, you can Hiding Spot to diverge the attack onto RC or Lionizer. Now, this card does get weaker later game because of a couple different things. If you flip it off of Optimus's attack and set it, your opponent knows you have it. If you flip Optimus back to alt mode to grab it back, your opponent knows you have it. Now, at that point, then they won't load up their character as much to try to KO Optimus because they know you're just going to Hiding Spot and they're going to overkill one of the other characters. Now, of course, game 2 and 3, the card also gets weaker too because once you set a secret action, they're most likely going to know what it is. Now, there are some secret actions I was thinking about side decking, which I'll talk about towards the end of the video, but in the early game, especially if it catches your opponent off guard, they put, grenade launcher, reckless charge on one of their characters, and they're swinging with 14 base attack try into Optimus, and then you surprise them by flipping Hiding Spot and giving him stealth and attack into one of the other, your Lionizer or RC and overkill it. Now, another reason why this card gets weaker later game is because, of course, you're going to have less characters throughout the game. Optimus hopefully should be your last standing character, but in the event you have Optimus and RC left on the battlefield, when your opponent, if they happen to play ISO function or whatever and have more than one attack, once you play Hiding Spot and give stealth to Optimus, once your other character dies, well, Optimus still has stealth, but it doesn't matter because Optimus is the only character that can be attacked at this point. So, something to keep in mind. And of course, it is a black icon card. If you happen to need that extra pierce or whatever to get to one of your opponent's characters for game, it is relevant for that sense. So I would look at this black icon as orange. Doesn't help on defense, but will help on attack. Next up for our 2 Us, we have 2 Supercharged. Cards is great. It's a great opener to play on Lionizer, giving Lionizer both 7. It's great to even play on Optimus. I mean, it's great to play on any of your characters, but just a powerful card. We're playing very heavy orange. Got to play at least, I like to at least play 2. I wanted to play 3, but I had to cut 1 recently. Next up for our 2 Us, we have 2 Work Overtime. Now, this card is a nice combo with Confidence because Confidence gives you -1. Now, card advantage necessarily isn't important in this game, but at the same time, going down a card and then not having as many options in your hand, especially depending on the game state, could matter. So, and also throughout the game, you don't really have that much draw power. So as you're playing an action and upgrade every turn, as your opponent's scrapping cards from your hand, with espionage or security checkpoint or whatever, this card is nice to be able to rev back up. Of course, Shockwave, the new Major Shockwave takes cards out of your opponent's hand a lot. So this card will be great, after they play the Gamma Launcher, make you discard a card. They flip Shockwave, make you discard a card. Thank goodness they can't look at your hand to take a card unless they play, Disruptive Entrance. But you can leave this as the last card in your hand, draw for your turn, play it if it's an upgrade, and then play this and then draw 4 cards to refill your hand. And should take your opponent a while, even against Sentinels. If Sentinels are still a thing, this will be nice against them as well. So 2 work over time, and it's a white icon, so it'll help you extend your flips. Next up, for my 1-ofs, I'm playing 1 Quartermaster. Now, I do want to add another one. I'll have to find space. Supercharge could possibly be a card that I want to cut for this, or for a second one. But I played 3 in my Hyper Prime deck, and I realized that 3 was too much, especially starting with it. You really don't want to start with it. It's a good mid to late game card after your Saber has been ramming speed / smelt / vaporize / enforcement batons to be able to grab it back and, get another attack with the Saber. Then they have to have another answer for it. Now, you're also able to move cards like I said, Enforcement Batons or Bashing Shield. If your opponent happens to have 2 upgrades, 2 armors / weapons out, you can play Bashing Shield or Batons and then scrap whatever, and then play Quartermaster and move to another character, which will trigger that card again. Even Scrapper Gauntlets as well. It scraps an enemy weapon, and if they don't have a weapon, you draw a card. So it's relevant for that. If it is in your scrap pile, you're able to recur it with Optimus Prime, grab it back from your scrap pile, and play it and get your Saber back and go from there. So just 1 for now. And my last 1 of them, playing 1 ramming speed. Not too much to say about this. Utilities are more relevant now. Battle Masters, of course, are relevant now, so I'm at least playing 1. Thinking about side decking 2 more, because a side deck card like a W5 Gyro Blaster can really ruin this deck's day. It already puts a damper on Lionizer. So yeah, just 1 ramming speed. And then I like to do my profiles with my 3-ofs, my 2-ofs, my 1-ofs, but the 3-of I saved for the end is the best card in the deck, Steamroll. Now, this card's ridiculous, especially with Optimus. I mean, Optimus is on the card running over somebody. I don't know who that is, but this card's ridiculous because whether you either play it from your hand or you flip it off Optimus's flips, Optimus is going to do Optimus is going to do Grimlock things, hence why I love this mat for this. Anytime I play this deck, I have to play on this mat because this is exactly what's happening. Optimus is doing what Grimlock does and hitting one character and trampling the extra damage onto another character. If you flip, let's say you play Reckless Charge and you have the Lionizer on Optimus. Well, Optimus is already at 12 with Bold 4 and Plan 1. So he's attacking for like 20 or something like that. And then you happen to find Steamroll off of that. You play Steamroll onto your Optimus. Now he has that 20 with the trample damage, and probably KO in 2 characters with that. And depending on how you catch your opponent with it, it can be very devastating. So I'm going to leave it with that, but my favorite card in the deck, Steamroll. It's best in this deck because Optimus can either get it back from the scrap pile and use it, like, let's say Lionizer attacks first turn, you flip the Optimus, and then on your next turn, Lionizer gets attacked. Then on your next turn, you actually potentially flip Optimus back to all mode to grab Steamroll. Yes, you're attacking with RC in her weakest mode, but you really don't care about RC like that. She is a helper. If she does get a KO, great. But you flip this to get back for Optimus, and then on your next turn, like if you have Peace Through Tyranny or whatever, you play the Steamroll, play Grenade Launcher, etc. on Optimus Prime, and it's just a great card. Now, this card is also really cool in Wheeljack decks. Like I like, Wheeljack with Lionizer, who doesn't 5 Bolt 7 with a Steamroll. But the thing about it with that deck is you have to physically always have the card in your hand. With this deck, Optimus can just simply flip it off his flips. Having Bolt 4 with the Lionizer, if you find this off your flips, you're in good range to KO 2 characters. And with that rounds out the actions, playing 24 actions. Next up, we have 3 Grenade Launcher. Not too much to say about this. +4, when the character attacks that's upgraded with this, it's scrapped afterwards. One of the most powerful upgrades in the game, and an orange deck cannot play without it. Next up, one of the other top 5, I would say, best orange weapons in the game, Erratic Lightning. You don't really care about your defense because you're just about all orange, so your defense doesn't matter as much in this deck. But having that great attack, putting this early game on Lionizer again, like if you're going second, opening with this card and putting it on Lionizer makes Lionizer 3 attack, 1 defense now with Bold 4, so he's attacking for a good bit, and then it's also easier for him to die too, which is what you want to be able to put on one of your other characters to continue your turn. Now that ends up just being 6 armors, or 6 weapons rather, for my upgrades. Because remember, like I said in my other videos, Peace Through Tyranny acts as a weapon, and when you put it on, when you KO your Lionizer and turns into the Saber. Next up, we have 3 Improvised Shield. You almost never equip this card. You should never equip this card. Maybe late game, I am playing a card that does include blue in it, and I'll show you that here in a second. But just really in here for the double icons, the double orange icons. And next up, to a Bashing Shield staple in orange decks, especially like these, got to get rid of your opponent's armors, like their force fields or their sparring, their tough armors or whatever, or even the new rock, paper, scissors armors, and get rid of those so you can hit home. And that +1 defense is always nice. And this is just a filler card. I don't necessarily know if this is correct or not. It could be scrap regardless. I'm not 100% yet. But 1 force field, if it does stick, it's great. If it doesn't, it's whatever. But again, it was just a filler card for now. And then last but not least, to round out my battle deck, for my utilities, I am playing 3 Matrix of Leadership. This card is good against blue decks, not that good against orange decks, but you want utilities in armors, like more utilities in armors, because again, once the Lionizer becomes a Saber, you don't have use for your weapon slot anymore until your opponent happens to get rid of it. So I like this card to be able to spread that +1 to everybody. This is also a great opening card too. A lot of this deck is about your opening turn, especially going second. If you open with this card, it's very easy. It's a very easy decision to play Matrix on Optimus, and Lionizer is now 1 Pierce 1, with Bull 4, so, and he can get in for that extra attack. And then last but not least, to round out my utilities, I'm playing 1 Energy Pack. Now, of course, Energy Pack says put only on characters that have 11 stars or more. Now, I wanted to, this is my first deck that I'm finally playing this card in. I've been testing it for about a week and a half now, and I like this card a lot in this deck. Of course, again, Optimus is your only target for Energy Pack, but giving this to him effectively makes him 18 health. So unless they have ramming speed or vaporize, whatever, to get rid of it, you're good to go. Now, let's say you're in a situation where your Optimus is in 1-shot stand range, and what that simply means is your Optimus only has 3 damage left until he's KO'd. If you play this, this gives him 4 more health, so he's at 7. And let's say you have 1-shot stand also that turn, you could 1-shot stand yourself down to 4 and hit one of their characters. And then now, even if they do have 1-shot stand, 1-shot fall, your Optimus still wouldn't die from that. Now, obviously, it'll probably just die to the attack, but it is semi-relevant. At least it won't die to their 1-shot and then they get to attack another character. But I like this card a lot. I think it's only a 1 of. You might be able to add, I might be able to take out Force Field for another one of these because I really kind of want to see one, which is nice. And what this effectively does is my total stars, my total health count is 8, 9, and 14. So that's 8, 9. Can I not count? Yeah, 31. That's what I was thinking. So 31. This gives you effectively 4 more health to go 35 overall health on your entire team. So if you do find this card sometime throughout the game, it is nice. Now, keep in mind, if your Optimus only has 4 health left, and he only has the 4 health because of Energy Pack, when/if is scrapped, via vaporize, ramming speed, crushing size, whatever, your Optimus will be KO'd, because now the Energy Pack is off, he has no more life left and will be KO'd. So that's it for the deck profile. In terms of side deck cards, I think one card I really like a lot is Squish Them Like Bugs. Pun intended for being good against Insecticons. I think this card is great. I think this card will help a lot of 3-wide orange decks against Insecticons like Cars and of course Optimus. Now, Lionizer can use this card and get an extra damage on, let's say Lionizer attacks Scrapnel. You can play Squish Like Bugs and get a damage on Ransack and Kickback, but Optimus will be able to get you an armed hovercraft from the entire team, because Optimus, of course, has one of the highest star counts in the game for single characters like this anyway, at 13 stars. So I like this card a lot as a side deck option. I'm thinking about possibly 2 more ramming speeds, because W5 Gyro Blaster, that card, if you can get that card equipped on your character, Prime, of course, will have the Saber on it, but you won't be able to flip more than 2 cards. So Prime will still be able to plan 1 with the plan 1 effect from the Saber, but you will not be able to flip more than 4 cards. Excuse me, more than 2 cards. That's Dampening Field. So nothing you can do about Dampening Field. But so yeah, ramming speed. In terms of a side deck character, I'm thinking about possibly Scrapnel. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't given it too much thought yet, but I do know that Bugs will be this deck's hardest matchup. And again, it's any 3-wide or even possibly other 4-wide decks bad matchup, because Bugs just have more attacks, and then with I Still Function, they have even another attack, so it can get pretty ridiculous. But I think having one actual just not so good matchup and having a lot of great matchups, I think is just fine. So be expecting this deck at Origins. Be expecting me to play it in one of the preliminaries. I might even play it because I like this deck a lot. And yeah, anybody going to Origins, or did I say Origins? I meant Gencon. If I said Origins, I apologize. I don't know why I'm still stuck in Origins. I'm clearly stuck in the past. It's time to move on, but no, I'm joking. But yeah, so expect that. I'm hoping, don't hold me to it, I would like to try to get another video before the night is out. My flight leaves very early tomorrow morning, but my girlfriend's coming home soon, and we got to do some things around the house before I leave. and because I'm leaving her with the baby. Horrible me, I'm such a horrible father. No, I'm joking. But leaving her, for 4 days with the baby, so I gotta make sure they're good to go. But I do want to get that other video out. Is my point. I want to get another video out just talking about some of the decks to expect, besides this deck, and of course, other possible side deck techs. I'm hoping I can get to it, but don't be surprised if I don't get to it. But on the bright side, I will have a lot of content to be able to post from GenCon. Almost said Origins again. Post from GenCon, in terms of player profiles. I want to get that series started, and I want to, just deck profiles, matches, exhibition matches or whatever, and go from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Of course, I know if you've guys seen this deck before, you were already bored from the start because you know what the deck's about. Good for you. But if this is for the people that didn't know and to be aware of it, this deck might take place of the deck at Origins. That was the well, actually, you know what? Let me back up a second. That's also another version of this deck that you could possibly see. Now, Dinobots is a deck to expect at Origins. I see, said it again. Jesus. Dinobots is a deck to expect at GenCon, but not necessarily in the form of all three Dinobots, like you normally see Sludge, Swoop, and Grimlock, or Sludge, Snarl, and Grimlock. But I've seen versions play Lionizer over Snarl now and still play Sludge. I've even seen decks that pretty much just play this Grimlock and Lionizer as well. And then you don't even need Steamroll. Grimlock just does what Grimlock's supposed to do and has the Steamroll built into him. So with that, I will stop talking, and I'm going to get up out of here. Hopefully go pack my bag and not procrastinate. So literally before it's time to go. My flight leaves very early in the morning. I'll be there early Wednesday. Today's... be there very early Wednesday, get some playtesting in, meet up with the people I'm staying with, and get some food and all that good stuff. So if you're going to Origins, come up and say what's up. Hopefully we may be able to get a game in, but I know as soon as 11 o'clock starts, those preliminaries are going to keep us busy with a whole bunch of transforming for the day. But with that, guys, I'm going to get up out of here, and you guys have a great day or great night whenever you're catching this video. As usual, this is S. Akuma heading out. Peace.